Okay guys, welcome back. We now actually have the final bracket here. That is for converting your Shimano EP8 e-bike into either a regular bike, or if you have future plans of doing your own DIY motor into one of these bikes, that's also an option with these since they have this larger cutout. I have my first batch in. I'll start selling them, but I figured I'd go ahead and put this video together to kind of show the process of how it goes together. So first of all, what will come with it, you will get obviously the bracket. This is all the factory hardware, but you will also receive these two spacers. They are 2.5 millimeters each. So a quick update on design change. These were originally 73 millimeters, which is kind of standard for mountain bikes, but whenever it comes to doing DIY motors, sometimes you need to shift the motor a few millimeters either way. So I have cut it down to 68 with these. And so if you are just mounting it into a regular mountain bike, turning into a regular mountain bike I should say, and you have just a standard set of cranks, what you'll do is you'll just slap these two on there and then bolt on your stuff, and that'll be it. And that's exactly what I'm going to do in this video. There are a few more things I want to talk about. Future plans, I will be offering bash guards. This one came out pretty poorly here, but there are two designs I'm working on. One is this one. This will be the more expensive one. It'll probably be about 10 bucks if you want to add it. It has a drain in it, so that at least it won't accumulate a bunch of dirt and grit and you can just rinse out your bike. There's a little bit of a gap here, so you can just kind of spray your hose in there. But it is a little bit more difficult to print these, and again, like I said, they're a little more expensive. The other option is going to be these. This is just a test fit for sizing. They'll actually be about like this. This is 5 millimeters thick, but this actually has mounting points for it already. So you can see these align there, and then you just use some standard M6 hardware and you can bolt these on. So you can either just run, if you do a single thinner one, you can do either just a single plate, or if you want a little more protection, you can do two, one on each side. That'll be an option whenever you're ordering these. And with these, I can do different surfaces. These has like this kind of like triangle shape. I can do a carbon fiber look, or I can just do the granular rough plate. So it's up to you whenever you order it. If you don't make any specifications or specify what type you want, it will probably just be this rough surface. Yeah, so we'll talk about that whenever we're going through the install process. Okay, I just want to come back and add one section that I didn't do in the original video. So these, I mentioned about the different surfaces. The other thing is you can actually, I can do custom colors. So if you want to color match your bike, that's an option. You'll have to just let me know beforehand, and it'll probably add a day or so to my delivery time, but and it's no additional cost to do that. So but I also forgot to show why you need to install this before it goes into the bike. So still have this, I already have this installed, but you can see there's very little space in there. Come here, see, it actually, you don't have any access to the fasteners on that side. This side you might be a little bit closer, but again, it's just kind of be a pain to get in there and do. And just kind of show what the fitment would look like. This is about where it would finally install, so you have a little bit of a gap there. So like I said, you can get in there and clean out if you do the full one piece that attaches to both sides. But yeah, so I'll go back to the video. So let's go ahead and get into what you need to get started. So obviously you're going to need to pull out your old motor. I'm not going into that process because of the differences between different motors, and there's information out there. So in this one I had a special adapter, but on for example the E7000 that I originally tested this saw with, I did not need this tool. What you need to get started. So obviously you're going to need to pull out your old motor. I'm not going into that process because of the differences between different motors. And there's information out there. So in this one, I had a special adapter, but on, for example, the E7000 that I originally tested this saw with, I did not need this tool. So different year models have different things. So the bike here is already stripped, nothing in it. As far as the motor goes, I still have the battery, so this wiring is going to be a little bit in the way. If you're doing a complete mountain bike conversion, you'll be able to rip all that out. But if you want to switch back and forth, you'll probably still need to deal with the wiring a little bit. This is an Orbea Rise, so it's got an internal battery. If you have an external battery, it's probably a little bit easier because then you won't have this whole harness kind of pushing right here at the end. Not a big deal. I'll go through the process on how to do this, and let's go ahead and get into it. So right now I just have a standard Shimano bottom bracket. This is the regular BSA threaded, so you'll need to supply your own cranks. And you can see here left side, so standard threads here, just threads right in like that. Now in this case we are going to install one spacer on each side. And this is, I already know this from testing and mocking up. Like I said, if you're just doing a regular mountain bike rigs, most of the time this is going to be the way you're going to do it, just one on each side. Again, it's more geared towards people that are doing DIY motors as to why to have multiple options. Because basically you got 10 millimeters of swing either direction. You can go 5 millimeters that way, 5 millimeters that way. And if you're doing a bigger motor like a CYC where they have an 83 millimeter wide spindle, then you got tons of room to work with. But this was more towards the cheaper budget ones, like the Tongshan and 2.7 and Bafang style motors. Just gonna lightly snug it up. I'm not gonna do a full torque. And then at this point, if you are going to install a bash guard, now would be the time to do it. Go ahead and put it in there, secure it. And you'll see once it's in the bike why I'm saying that, because there's basically very little access to those once it's in the bike. Now, hardware wise, this is the original hardware. This spacer goes on this side. I believe that there's some differences between your models, whether they have that spacer or not. But in this case, I have one, so keep track of it. It's all original hardware. This bike was used, so they had already lost one of the bolts. They replaced it with a steel one. The rest of these are all aluminum. So a little bit different, and it makes it, we gotta be a little more cautious with this one because you can strip out these threads when you're installing it, if you're just kind of rough with it. But I'll go ahead and get started on it. So let's go ahead and grab these two. These will be for this one. So I like to start here because you don't have to deal with any spacers. And with the wiring being there, it makes it a little more difficult to, if you have this side in first and you're trying to push down and start threads, so you really run a risk of cross threading. So we're going to go ahead and start on the part where we can kind of set the screw and then push down and just lightly turn it until you feel it. See it right there start to thread in. And this is kind of similar process whether it's this bracket or the original motor. So if you know how to do the original motor, then this is nothing at all. But this is just for anyone that may be just getting into this, need some pointers. So we got our spacer here. So now the next one we want to do is this far end, and that's because it makes it a little bit, gives you the most leverage of getting everything pushed into place. So let's see. Push this out the way. There it goes. And the original bolt. And we can kind of just thread it in by hand here. And if you have it's always best to start just by hand. But if you do have to use a tool, again, just like I'm kind of doing, I use the small end just to make sure I'm not putting a whole lot of torque load on it and risk stripping out, because you want to be able to feel whenever it's starting to cross thread. So, and this one's The center section tends to be a little bit trickier at the end, so I do have to still use this. But put a little bit of downward pressure on it. It's a little bit tricky with the ball end. There it goes. And last one. And as you can see, I'm kind of leaving everything a little bit loose. I don't secure anything down until I've got all 6 in. Because if you tighten it up and there's a little bit of movement in it, and you may block off a thread, and that really makes it really hard to start screwing in the last one, like this right here. So, alright, there we go. And I'll go ahead and just tighten these down a little bit. And I'm not going to go through the torque spec, but these, I believe, they actually have the torque spec written on the bolts. So you just follow your normal torque spec that the original motor called for. And let's see, almost done here. Okay, so that's all I'm going to torque it down to, just by hand, since this is going to be coming back out again. Because I'm still going to keep this as an e-bike until this motor dies, or sell this bike. So, and there you go. Just tap in your regular cranks. And this process, this follows the same process as your regular mountain bike cranks. These, you have a little special tool to set the preload. And now you can just install your chain. Now in this case, this is a 30 tooth sprocket or chain ring. The original bike comes with, I think, a 32 or 34. So there's a little bit of touching there. That'll be dependent on your bike, so I would recommend trying to at least stay close to the original chainring size. But I mean, you can see it's actually not even rubbing right now, so it's whenever it gets any bounce, it's going to touch. But I mean, that's it. You got a converted bike to a regular analog bike, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, and it's easy to reverse. I mean, it's just the same process, taking it apart. Yep. So if y'all have any interest in buying one, reach out to me. I'll be going through my little Skywalker designs and services. Yeah, now I should be able to have these start shipping out next week. So hope y'all enjoy this and get y'all going. So, all right.